Elon had fruitful discussions with Consumer Reports, Model X sells out in China in a day, and You You Xue's world tour ends prematurely. This is Tesla Tidbits episode number 409 for May 30th, 2018. We start the day at Teslarati, where it looks like Elon had a productive tete-a-tete with Consumer Reports, following the publishing of their review of the Model 3. Jake Fisher, Auto Test Director of Consumer Reports, said the following of his conversation with Elon, quote, "He was remarkably candid about things. Honestly, he actually thanked us for bringing these things to his attention and said that we're helping him make the car better," end quote. The two discussed the car's shortcomings, including controls, brakes, wind noise, rear seats, and suspension. Musk told Fisher that improvements to Model 3's design have been implemented over the last 3 months. One potential solution to the control critique relates to the HVAC system. The possible solution is that moving the seat automatically adjusts the airflow and mirrors to you. It also sounds as though the keycard isn't working very well for folks, and it's possible that fobs may be back for Model 3. Shortly thereafter, as we saw on Twitter on the 26th, it looks like the fix for the most problematic of the issues, the braking, is heading out to vehicles. Elon said, quote, "Also, firmware fix for upgraded brake performance on standard Model 3 started rolling out yesterday. Should improve braking distance by about 20 feet for repeated heavy braking events. Thanks at Consumer Reports for excellent critical feedback," end quote. We'll see if either or both of the mentioned improvements are implemented and how long it takes, but unlike some other folks recently, it seems that with valid criticism that was presented honestly came valid dialogue and fruitful progress. What a concept. Staying at Teslarati, we see some regulation relaxation in China, and Model X is the beneficiary. Recently, the Customs Tariff Commission reduced car import duties in the country from 20 to 25% down to 15% to take effect on July 1st. This had an immediate and amazing effect on Model X inventory at the Shanghai Tesla store. Workers at the store ended up working overtime to sign 10 deals with customers, clearing out every Model X 75D that was on hand in less than 24 hours. The cars cost a cool $11,000 US less than their original price. The store says they'll replenish the inventory as soon as the new tariffs come in. Finally, we move to Inside EVs for a very unfortunate story on an ambassador of the Model 3. If you haven't heard of You You Xue, he drove his brand new Model 3 across the US and Canada on an unofficial tour to show the car off and let people see and drive it. He then turned that event into a world tour, shipping the car over the Atlantic Ocean to continue in Europe. While driving near Florina, Greece, in a fairly similar incident to the fatal Model X crash in California recently, he crashed into a barrier near an exit. You You issued a lengthy statement on the matter. In his statement, he admits, quote, "I was taking a glance at the navigation on my phone and was not paying full attention to the road. I was startled by the sudden change in the direction of the car," end quote. Later in the statement, he urges owners to, quote, "take a full step back and put themselves in my shoes, as a driver who had used this amazing software for so long and who could not have anticipated such a sudden and violent jerk of the wheel to one direction while traveling at a fast speed. I hope that my fellow owners will be less dismissive of various incidents regarding autopilot and understand that the general public views these severe collisions differently from the owner community. Tesla is moving quickly into the mass market, and potential customers in that segment aren't going to ask, why were both of his hands not on the wheel while the car was in autopilot? Rather, they are going to ask, why did the car swerve into the gore point without warning?" End quote. He then finishes the statement saying, quote, "I am truly sorry and deeply regret that some of my actions have caused a bad taste in people's mouths. I ask those people to judge my road trip thus far as a whole and not by my craziest or worst moments. I have met with over 8,000 people on the road in 3 continents and 25 countries, and I have demonstrated that it is not only possible to drive an EV across the world, it is absolutely exhilarating and brings along great adventure along the way. I have also seen the potential and power of the EV owners community, which when leveraged, can make a great difference in our world. I ask those who disapprove of my actions to reconsider their stance, and I want to see what positive things can come of this collision," end quote. Tesla issued their own statement saying, quote, "While we appreciate You You Xue's effort to spread the word about Model 3, he was informed that Tesla does not yet have a presence in Eastern Europe and that there is no connectivity or service available for vehicles there. In addition, Model 3 has not yet been approved and homologated for driving outside of the US and Canada. Although we haven't been able to retrieve any data from the vehicle given that the accident occurred in an unsupported area, Tesla has always been clear that the driver must remain responsible for the car at all times when using autopilot. We're sorry to hear that this accident occurred, and we're glad that You You is safe. End quote. It's a shame the trip ended in this way. You You isn't wrong in his statement about what lay people will think about this accident, but in no way does it also absolve You You of not paying attention to the road. It's always the bottom line with autopilot that it's not full self-driving software, and you absolutely have to keep your attention on the road at all times. You can check out the links to the full stories in the show description. While you're doing that, please consider supporting the show financially through Patreon at patreon.com/Tesla Tidbits. Thanks so much to our newest super patron, Morven Og. As with all new patrons, please let me know if I've got your name's pronunciation correct. Speaking of new patrons and me butchering names, we have another new standard level patron, Jacek Lesiebel. Again, if I've butchered that, please let me know and I will happily correct it. There are things I'm good at, and there are things that I'm not, and figuring out pronunciations falls into the latter category. Of course, we can't forget the rest of the super patrons out there supporting the show at the $10 plus level. They are John Waltower, Drew Schuyler, John Waller, Mark and Sarah Thomas, Ryan Scarborough, Lee Sweet, William Henry Crew III, Dorian Steve Guberman, Bruno Kundici, Joey Boots, Ralph and Cheryl Waterhouse, Adam Raymer Brown, Megawatt Photovoltaic Development, Todd Sullivan, Robert Healy, Mitch Long, and Zortec LED Canada. If you can't support with dollars, be sure to show your love with positive reviews and subscriptions on YouTube, iTunes, and other services across the internet. That's it for today's episode. If you have feedback for me, the best way to be heard is to tweet at Tesla Tidbits and use the hashtag AskTeslaTidbits if you'd like your question to be considered for the show. I'll see everyone back here again tomorrow. Until then, keep it charged and hit the road.